Hi, it's Christine Madeira from modernmystic.net and Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness podcast. And today we're talking about the difference and the benefits of competition and cooperation. So if you have lived in the West at all, and the US in particular, competition has been probably the value that you have learned is one of the most important in life, that we compete against one another for things. It's like a zero-sum game, that there's only so much that's available, and you have to compete and win to get that stuff that you want or need. But truly, competition is kind of not the icing on the cake, but sort of the tip of the iceberg as to how life actually works. Because when you're looking at competition and that whole Darwinian survival of the fittest, which was a misreading of that, it's actually the survival of the most flexible, the most adaptable, the most cooperative, really. And so when you focus on competition and you focus on winners and losers, all of life becomes this game of winning and losing in zero-sum stuff, so that you have to compete and win so that you have something, and in order for you to have what you want, somebody else has to lose. Now, of course, we apply this to sports, where there really is a winner and a loser, to competition between like businesses like IBM and, well, it's probably an old one, so Microsoft and Apple, or to countries, in terms of ideologies or wars or economics and these type of things. But what competition ignores that we really need to pay attention to is that in order for teams to compete, you have to have an enormous amount of cooperation within that team, within that company, within that country, within various systems, in order to support healthy competition. So in the body, and I always go back to the body and nature and that kind of stuff, because it's a wonderful metaphor for how these things actually work. In the body, there's a massive amount of cooperation. So we've got trillions of different reactions that happen in the body, actions, reactions, and things that continue to happen in the body to keep us functional, to keep us healthy, to keep us moving forward, and to keep us living a long time. When there's too much competition in the body, we call that, like, in one form of that is cancer. Another form of that is depletion. So if you're using up all of your resources in your body, your mental, your emotional, your physical, your adrenal, all of these kinds of resources, and really juicing up your nervous system for something like a competition of some sort, then you don't have those resources available to rebuild your body, to support the kind of cooperation that your body needs to maintain health. And over time, you get chronic illness or certain kinds of breakdowns because there's an overabundance of competition, or there is the overuse of resources by one part of your body and the underutilization of them to be available for the cooperative aspects of your body. So like the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest system that really should be functioning, most of the time to keep you healthy and moving forward. But vibrationally and energetically and just the way it works in the body, when you're focused on competition, you're focused on that sympathetic nervous system, that the stress response, the action response, the stuff that secretes stress hormones, and those use up your body's resources, right? It's like an overtax in the body, and that's fine because the body is actually built for that. So that when you come into that parasympathetic nervous system response, that rest and rebuilding and regeneration, then your body repairs that, it creates more resources, and it moves you toward health. But when you're staying in that competition-based energy for too long, you don't have enough time in that regeneration to be able to have the robust cooperation that your body needs to remain healthy and to keep you from having chronic illnesses or for depleting your immune system and those sorts of things. So even when we just intellectually think about life as competition, we're staying more in that's sympathetic nervous system response, using up our body's resources and not giving us enough time to be in that place of rest and digest. And sleeping at night is not enough of that time. So really you need to build these times into your day where you're consciously moving into that rest and digest, so that your body has the resources in its cooperation mode to keep you healthy. Now, if we extrapolate that outwards into life, if you look at like the competition of a football team, and every Super Bowl I post this out on Medium, and people laugh at me, but the amount, or if you look at the Super Bowl, it's actually a contest of cooperation. So it takes a period of time where you're competing one team against the other team, really about how well each team cooperates, because a team that cooperates is likely to win. A team that doesn't cooperate is likely to lose, because not everybody within that team is competing against one another, or doesn't have that seamless movement of knowing what everybody else is going to do. And so they're not likely to have the benefit of cooperation so that they can compete effectively. And it's the same thing with a corporation like IBM I keep going back to IBM, what were the ones? Microsoft and Apple, thank you. So Microsoft and Apple, where the enormous amount of cooperation between the employees and the technologies of each company is vitally important. Almost all of the resources in that company go toward preserving and increasing the cooperation between employees and technology, and how things work across systems, and finding those cooperative places. And it's only just that very little tip of the iceberg where one company is competing against another company. But 99% of their effort is in cooperation and not in competition. And so how do we begin to use this in order to live a better life and have a more functional world? Because right now, almost everything is focused on competition, and you can see how it breaks down the whole system within a country, within politics, within an economic system, and within regions and people and all kinds of stuff, when everybody's focused on competition and having to win a competition, and not enough energy is going toward maintaining the integrity of systems, and including your body system, transportation systems, all kinds of systems, right? So if you begin to just make that mental shift, where 90% of life, and probably more, but I'll say 90% for fun, but 90% of life is in cooperation. And how does that work? Look to see how that works in your own life. What needs to happen so that your life runs? There needs to be a cooperation of moving, getting foods from farms to factories, if you need factories, to the grocery store. That's a lot of cooperation. Getting the electrical system and grid to work. That's a lot of cooperation. Getting the water systems to work. A lot of cooperation. Having your family work and be in communication. A lot of cooperation. Having all of the infrastructure for even just for making a video on a phone and posting it on Facebook or Instagram requires a lot of cooperation of technology and of all of the things that support that technology working together. And so look in your life to see how cooperation actually works, and appreciate how cooperation in your body works, that most of your body's energy goes toward preserving the health of your system. And just a small part of your body's energy is really optimally for, competing against other people, or being in heavy kinds of action, or being under stress and that kind of thing. So notice the cooperation. Really step into and appreciate how much cooperation it takes for you to live your life and for the world to operate the way that it does, and begin to realize and see the cost of competition when it is done in a non-optimal way. So if you had all of Team A and all of competing against every other member of Team A, competing in a Super Bowl against Team B, with their team competing all against the team within Team B, what a mess that would be. Right? So appreciate how, the competition is important, because it helps us to really move into our, to challenge ourselves and move forward. But that all of that, the way that supports that part of us that's stepping up is done in cooperation. All right, so check that out. That's my challenge to you today. I will see you again soon.